My name is Tom. I'm with Mercy Health, and I am privileged to be your Master of Ceremonies for today's celebration. If everyone could please rise as I introduce the Milton Boy Scouts Augusta Courtney and Zach Obershaw from Troop 454, and Henry Collins from Troop 417, who will begin our event with the presentation of the flags and the Boy Scout oath. They will be followed by the singing of our national anthem by Lauren and Rachel James from Parkview High School, the daughters of Clay and Becky.
Can color guard please present the colors? Color guard, please post the colors. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please join me in the Scout Oath. On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country, to obey the Scout law, to help other people at all times, keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
I would now like to introduce Pastor Steve Scott from Milton United Methodist Church and charter partner for Troop 454. Reverend Scott is an Eagle Scout. He has the Order of the Arrow Vigil Honor, Section Secretary, and Founders Award. Reverend?
One thing I learned in Boy Scouts a very long time ago is that we don't always get paid for the work we do, but sometimes the work that we do that we don't get paid for is the most rewarding. And today we honor service and achievement, and it is an honor to be with our award recipients today. And so let's ask blessing for their service as well as the meal that we are enjoying this morning. O Creator God, we give you thanks for this beautiful day indeed, for the opportunity to gather in this beautiful setting this morning, for all of the scouts and volunteers and all who serve and help others to serve by their example. In particular, we thank you for our 2 award recipients this day. May they inspire others. May they inspire the rest of us to also serve unselfishly. We ask blessing upon this food, for the hands that have prepared it, for the hearts that have served it, and for those who receive this meal as nourishment for the day and all that you have called us to be. We pray this in God's name. Amen. Amen.
As the son of a career soldier, scouting was the one constant for Alex and his 2 brothers. all of whom are Eagle Scouts, as well as his sister who earned the Gold Award in Girl Scouts. Over the past 26 years, Alex has served on Boy Scout councils in Baltimore, Waycross, Georgia, Jacksonville, Florida, New Orleans, Anchorage, and Ashland, Ohio. He has served as the Scout Executive of Glacier's Edge Council since 2013, which serves 14 southern Wisconsin and 2 northern Illinois counties. Let's welcome Scout Executive Alex Timms to the stage.
Good morning. What a beautiful day and what a great crowd we have here today. My name is Alex Timms, and I have the pleasure to serve as the Scout Executive and CEO of the Glacier's Edge Council. And before I start my presentation, there's a few people I do want to recognize that we have in the room. If you would stand and be recognized, State Senator Steve Noss. Steve, thank you for being here. Our current district chairman for the Indian Trails District and a member of our executive board of the Glacier's Edge Council, Harry O'Leary. Harry. I'd also like to recognize Brian Golke, who is a past district chairman for the Indian Trails District. Mike Cole, who is the district commissioner for the Indian Trails District. Mike. Also, we have a couple past council presidents that are here with us as well. I'd like to recognize Mark Lorenz. Mark. Derek Green, are you here? Derek? Let's see. And also, I'd like to recognize and acknowledge Dr. Phil Selgren, who is with us. He has done some amazing things for scouting for us long term, and also he just made a significant contribution to help us rebuild our chapel at Camp Indian Trail. So, Doc, thank you. The state of the Glacier's Edge Council is good and getting better every day. We are doing amazing things for kids. One of the reasons that the Boy Scouts of America officially exists, if you look in the manuals, is to teach about character development, citizenship training, and physical fitness. Now, I have to be honest, in over 45 years of being involved in scouting, I have yet to have a boy walk up to me and say, Mr. Alex, I want to have my character development, be citizenship trained. No. They don't join for those reasons. They join for 3 reasons of their own. They want to go camping, they want to build fires, and they want to have the biggest pocket knife their mothers will let them have. We trick them into learning those good things. I've told parents if their kids ever did ask to have their character developed, be citizenship trained, seek counseling for those children immediately. So scouting still is important to kids today. There's something about the smell of campfire smoke when they're out on that camp out. Sometimes in the evening it looks a little bit different because after they've done their thing, they're sitting around a campfire and they got the glow of the fire and their smartphone as they're texting and doing social media and bragging on the cool things they're doing. But at the end of the day, they're out in the woods experiencing those great things that many of us grew up with in scouting. I want to share a few things about what's happening with Camp Indian Trails, which is our scout camp that's here in the Janesville area. We've spent over the last 2-3 years about $1.2 million in improvements to Camp Indian Trails. And we've done some major things. And one of them we did, for some of y'all remember, and Javon, when you were on the board, you probably remember talking about building a new swimming pool. For many years, and many of you in Janesville heard the Boy Scouts are going to start a new swimming pool. We just couldn't get out of the gate with it. And we looked at it. It was going to be about $1.6 million to build a swimming pool that we needed to serve camp. That's a lot of money for something we use 8 weeks out of the year. So we decided to build a 6-acre pond that would be opportunity for swimming, boating, fishing, and more of a year-round program feature. So the kids didn't come to camp and say, wow, that looks kind of neat when they come in October and it's all fenced off. And as you might have picked up from my accent, I'm not from Wisconsin originally, but I lived in the deep South, and we consider swimming pools a hole in the ground you pour a lot of money into. And if you have a home swimming pool, you know what that means. You have a picture of what we had last spring. This is an aerial picture of the pond at Camp Indian Trails. Towards the bottom That's where the dining hall is that was built when Javon was on the board, and this is the largest project since that point. Instead of $1.6 million on a swimming pool, we spent about $600,000 on this, and we're going to stock it with fish. It's going to be awesome. On your table is a save the date card. We're going to have a dedication, a barbecue out at camp. We'll be mailing out invitations, but if you can join us to see what we're doing at camp, we'd appreciate having you. Next slide we need to do something about our bathrooms and showers at camp. If some of you went to camp as kids, those same latrines are still out in some of those campsites, and they're just as disattractive today as they were when you were a kid. And as we have more moms coming to camp, that we needed to do something to make the experience a little bit better at camp. So we've built a new 8-stall shower house with flush toilet, hot showers, and a sink, and it's a year-round facility. So because we have kids camping out there every weekend throughout the year, and we have some construction pictures. It's well underway and will be done by June 1st. Okay. Next, at our Boy Scout camp up in Boston, what we do at Camp Castle Rock was we have a 12,000-acre lake and we weren't using it. So we bought a lot of inflatable, cool stuff for the lake. And we bought a 14-foot iceberg. We bought water trampoline. And this year we are adding this monstrosity that has a whole bunch of cool stuff for the kids to climb on. They don't earn a merit badge doing it, but they have fun, and it makes them come back to camp. And one of the things we're pleased with as a pride point for our Boy Scout camp is we went from 550 kids 4 years ago. We're going to camp over 1,200. And this is 3 years in a row we've had over 1,000 kids. The previous time we had 1,000 kids come to camp, 1974. So scouting is growing, and we're really proud of that. This is one of the things we're putting at Camp Indian Trails for our Cub Scouts. It's called a coracle. I thought it looked like one of those giant walk sleds, you used to slide down, but it's something unique. They won't see at Boy Scout camp, but it's aimed at for our Cub Scouts. And so we bought about a dozen of those, and we have some other boats that we'll be putting in as well. One of the new programs that will be rolling out with the Boy Scouts starting the 1st of September is we're bringing Lion Cubs back. Now, Lion Cubs is the kindergarten program for kids. We did about 16 units as a test market this year, and it was successful, and Nashville has now adopted it as a full-blown program. So we'll start with Cub Scouts starting in kindergarten all the way on up. Next one. Full family of scouting. I'm not going to go into the great details of it, but some of you may have read, starting September 1st, I'll go to the next slide, girls will be allowed to join Cub Scouts. And this is partly because of research done by our national organization. Parents wanted something that they can bring both kids to. And what we had a lot of millennial parents do is, we can't take, Susie's going to do Girl Scouts on Tuesday, Bobby's doing Boy Scouts on Thursday. We can't do both of them, so they took the path of least resistance and didn't do either. So our new program will allow girls to join starting in February. Starting in February, there'll be a parallel program to Boy Scouting that will allow girls the path to Eagle Scout. We're not changing the requirements. None of our merit badges or advancement programs are gender specific, and we think this is something that's going to be outstanding to provide. We've had girls involved in Cub Scouting for years. And what we would do is, we'd say, Harry, here's your Bobcat badge. Let's go nuts. Give them a round of applause. And everybody went crazy. And then they had little sister Susie over here. Here's your badge. Don't tell anybody. That was a terrible message. And, honestly, the girls are going to enjoy it, and it's going to do great things for scouting. If you want more information on the full family of scouting, I encourage you to go to our national website, scouting.org, and there is a whole page that talks about what the program is, how it works, news stories, press releases, and all the other good stuff. So it's an exciting time for scouting. One of the things to wrap up, we're fortunate with all the counties we serve. I deal with law enforcement in a good way. There's occasionally we meet on the side of the highway, but I was trying to get to camp quickly. But one of the things in talking with some of the sheriffs in our area, they talk about how much it costs to incarcerate a person. And depending on the county, it costs anywhere from $200 to $250 a day to incarcerate one person. And what it takes to serve scouting, it costs us $169 a year that we have to go out and raise to support one kid for an entire year. The total amount, I'm told, that the state of Wisconsin spends on prisons and jails is north of $2 billion. And scouting, our job is we're preventative. We look at trying to take kids and turn them into the kind of citizens that we all want them to be. And there's a quote, and I'm not sure who to attribute it to, but scouting, this is kind of appropriate to scouting. It's better for us to build boys than to mend men. So today, when you have the opportunity, we appreciate you being here, and we hope you'll write a check for the amount you think scouting benefits our kids. Thank you for being here. On behalf of our 7,000 youth and the Glacier's Edge Council and 3,000 adult volunteers, thank you again for being here. God bless you, and let's have a wonderful day. I am supposed to introduce our speaker. We have a young man from Troop 408, chartered by First Lutheran Church. I'd like to ask Matthew Carpenter to please come forward. He's a junior at Craig High School, and he's going to talk a little bit about what scouting means to him.
Hello, my name is Matthew Carpenter. I am currently a Life Scout with Troop 405 out of First Lutheran Church. I am here to speak about what scouting has done for me as an individual. First, it has brought me friends who I enjoy going on trips with, such as when I went to Seven Ranges Scout Reservation in Ohio. I got sick on my second day there, and my friend Christian stuck with me throughout the remainder of the week. Second, scouting has brought me skills that I may never have learned about otherwise. Leadership skills is a perfect example of one of those skills. I served 2 6-month terms as senior patrol leader and 2 terms as quartermaster and 1 term as patrol leader. Currently, I am the president of Crew 405. Lastly, I enjoy speaking as MC, not just because my initials are MC, but because I can speak loudly and clearly. Scouting gave me the opportunity to learn of these skills. Scouting will continue to give me, as a person, new opportunities to do better in life. Through scouting, I was given a scout oath and law to live by. For starters, the scout oath has given me 3 big points to live by: duty to God, duty to others, and duty to self. The biggest one of those 3, in my opinion, is duty to others, because if you don't show kindness or are courteous to others, they will feel if you show kindness to those others, they will feel obligated to be nice to you back or someone else, and that will start a chain reaction of people being nice to others. This point also covers family, who have helped me reach where I am today, but also helps you get closer to your family because you can spend time with your father while camping. And through family, life merit badge. Then there's the 12 points of the Scout Law. My favorite of all those points is kind, because being kind to someone will change how they feel for that day. Finally, scouting has given me an opportunity to give back to others, such as scouting for food and Highway 51 cleanup, which my troop just did this past Saturday with 13 boys. We went from Highway US 14 to the bus stop on US 51. It took us 3 hours to get it fully cleared, and we got plenty of thanks from cars passing by. Youth today are wanting to succeed in life with scouting. It can help them get a head start to succeeding in life. In conclusion, I would like to congratulate Mr. Bay and Mr. McClellan on this community celebration for their achievement in life.
Larry and his family moved to Janesville in 1990 when he accepted a position as an agriculture and commercial lender with Valley Bank when Rollie McClellan was leading the bank. In 1998, Larry moved to Johnson Bank and became regional president in 2001. Larry joined the board of directors of Mercy Health in 2002. In 2015, he became part of the Mercy Health Regional Community Advisory Board. In addition, he is currently serving on the Janesville Police and Fire Commission and is on the board of directors for Forward Foundation, an arm of Forward Janesville, and the board of directors of the Janesville Foundation. Larry was the Cub Master, still early. Larry was the Cub Master with PAC 411 at Monroe Elementary School, and then was involved with Troop 402 at Cargill United Methodist Church, and is the chairman of this event. Let's welcome Larry to the stage.
Yeah, Club Master, Cub Master, what difference does it make, right, Tom? We're all good. It is my sincere privilege and pleasure to be part of this celebration for scouting for Glacier's Edge Council. That is hard to say this early in the morning. As we honor the service of 2 outstanding individuals for their lifetime achievements and contributions to scouting, Javon Bay and Rollie McClellan. Alex kind of got us kicked off a little bit. A related goal, as well as honoring these gentlemen, is to provide financial support for the council through the Investment in Character campaign. And at your tables, you were provided this colored brochure that outlines how our contributions will make a difference in the lives of our area youth. And we saw some examples of some tremendous youth and how scouting has that impact. And again, as a scout leader, I saw that happen, and you still see those kids around town now, and it's just an absolute blast to see them. The map inside the brochure shows the area served by Glacier's Edge Council, and it's important to note that all the funds raised here this morning will stay right here in Glacier's Edge Council. Inside each brochure is a pledge form, and so if you would take a few moments, they gave me one in advance, so I've already got mine filled out. But go ahead, complete that form in order to make your commitment to scouting this morning. When you've finished it, there are some manila folders, envelopes on the tables. Please put the forms in those envelopes. And then the 4 scouts that are here with us this morning will be coming around to pick those envelopes up so that we can actually get a count and report on the amount contributed to support scouting at the conclusion of this program. So we'll give you a few minutes to take care of that piece of business, and then we'll let Tom get back up here. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. We appreciate your generous donations to the Boy Scouts. If I could have your attention now, please, if you could turn your sights to the screen. We have a very nice video that looks back at Javon and Rollie's history and how scouting helped to shape their lives.
On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty, to guard my country, and to obey the Scout law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight.
Trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, brave. These are just a few of the upstanding characteristics taught to young men as part of the Boy Scout law. Today, we honor 2 individuals who learned these ideals many years ago as Scouts and who still exemplify them today. A Delavan, Wisconsin native, Rollie McClellan joined his church Boy Scout troop at age 11. An active member for over 5 years, he enjoyed the adventure, learning experiences, and camaraderie scouting provided. Javon Bay grew up in Rockford, Illinois, the youngest of 12 siblings. Javon attended St. Patrick's Grade School, where he joined the Boy Scouts at age 8. In high school, Javon became a medical explorer, a decision that shaped his very successful career in healthcare. Today, Rollie McClellan and Javon Bay are widely known for their professional roles. Rollie had a long and highly respected career in banking, serving as the president of M&I Bank for many years. In 1971, he was asked to join the Mercy Hospital Community-Based Board of Directors, and in 1983, Rollie was made chairman of the board. By the late 80s, Mercy Hospital was seriously losing market share to bigger hospitals in Madison and Milwaukee. Rollie was a driving force behind recruiting Javon Bay to Mercy Health in 1989, where Javon has served as president and CEO ever since. With Javon's visionary leadership and Rollie's unwavering support, Mercy Health has grown tremendously, bringing highly specialized physicians, services, and technology to communities throughout southern Wisconsin and northern Illinois. The Boy Scouts taught both of these men life lessons that in many ways shaped their lives. The Scouts have always stressed being a conscientious and responsible member of society who is always prepared and ready to be of service. Those who know Javon and Rollie know that each consider their work a calling, leading with a passion for making lives better for people throughout the region. Together, they led Mercy's transformation, turning a small community hospital that was struggling just to meet payroll in the 1980s into nationally acclaimed multi-regional health system. Through its 7 hospitals and more than 85 primary and specialty care, clinics, home health, hospice, and retail services, and a wholly owned health insurance company, Mercy Health cares for over 2.1 million patients each year. Working closely together the last 30 years, Javon and Rollie have made it their mission to improve the health and well-being of the communities Mercy Health serves. From ensuring that every person needing care receives it through free and low-cost health services, to operating the only health system-owned homeless center in the nation, to providing free health screenings, classes, presentations, and support groups, to sponsoring and collaborating with hundreds of local organizations, they have truly made our communities a better place to live. Under their leadership, Mercy Health has been honored with more than 100 awards for its commitment to excellence and patient care. In fact, Mercy Health was the first integrated health system in the United States to receive the prestigious Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Award, the highest award for quality and organizational excellence. Javon and Rollie were proud to receive this award in 2008 from President George W. Bush in the Oval Office. Another major accomplishment will come to fruition in January 2019 with the opening of Mercy Health's $505 million hospital and medical campus on I-90 and Riverside Boulevard in Rockford. Throughout their careers, Javon and Rollie have held on to the principles they learned through the Boy Scouts as young boys, and both have given back to Scouting by serving on the Sinnissippi Council Executive Board. They continue their support of the Boy Scouts through Mercy Health's Medical School for Teens program, which has provided hands-on learning to thousands of students over the last 3 decades. On behalf of Mercy Health's more than 8,000 employees and 700 employed physician partners, we congratulate Javon and Rollie on their Lifetime Achievement honor. They continue to inspire us with their commitment to the ideals the Boy Scouts of America and their passion for making a difference in the lives of others. A passion for making lives better.
Please welcome Larry Squire back up to the stage to introduce our honorees.
I think after watching that video, you can see why it's very fitting that we recognize Rollie and Javon together today. And while each has had their own individual distinguished career and personal accomplishments, you can see how closely aligned they are and how well connected they are. I've had the distinct pleasure to watch both in action, individually and as a team. And you can trust me on this one, they are a team. With Rollie as Mercy Health Chairman of the Board and Javon as President and CEO, for over 3 decades, as you know, the video said, they have worked closely together, challenged each other, and made decisions that have positively impacted healthcare for our region. So I want to touch briefly on 3 characteristics that speak to me about these men. First, the Scout motto, be prepared. Second, intuition. And third, get dirty. So, yeah, I know it's early in the morning, but you can laugh at that one too. So be prepared. This is a trait both displayed and expected in themselves and in everyone around them. With Rollie, I saw it early on in my career as a young lender, and I went into a loan committee, and Mr. Oakes will back me up on this, and I was gonna feebly present the loan presentation to try and get approved. Well, Rollie was paging through the loan presentation and just gently turned it over, and McClellan can laugh too, being on the board, and no words were necessary. Not prepared, not approved, move on, okay? On to the next. It was a very simple process you learn. And with Javon, I saw it early on at the Mercy Health board meetings. They were always efficient and extremely purposeful. And anything that came before that board was very well prepared for. It was thought out and had direction. And while I never sat in on a Mercy Health Executive Council meeting, I'll look to some of the people that have sat in on those meetings. where the requests for new equipment or staffing or changes were presented. I can only imagine that they were very much like a loan committee with Rollie. If you're not prepared, it's not approved. And trust me, anything that was presented at the Mercy Board meeting by Javon or any of that team was always well prepared for. Both men are instinctively intuitive, and at its simple but probably most applicable form, when running these organizations the size that Javon and Rollie have, you have to be able to quickly analyze new ideas fully, think through all the nuances that are going to come through, and consider the benefits and any repercussions. Both Javon and Rollie are able to pick up very quickly on ideas that make sense and then expand and run with them. Back to my loan presentation with Rollie, he just knew when it made sense and if it just didn't meet the smell test. With Javon, his intuitiveness is off the charts and ties directly into his ability to think light years ahead of anybody else I've ever seen. His ability to see into the future and know what to do and how to get there is at a level I've never witnessed with anyone else I've been around. Our community is extremely fortunate to have had Javon execute that vision right here. Without it, and without a strong Mercy Health, Janesville would have certainly suffered much deeper during the Great Recession and would not have the exceptional healthcare services right here at home that we do today. And then get dirty. As we sit here and see these two distinguished men and know their accomplishments, this phrase is very telling. First, a little background. You saw that Rollie's from Delavan. Well, he's related to that McClellan Farms place when you drive between Janesville and Delavan, and he's extremely proud of that, and he knows a little bit about getting dirty. His pride and dedication to the agricultural community and the farmers showed through very strongly when he led the bank group and led loans to that piece. And you could regularly find Rollie down at Rotary Corn Roast, loading the roaster, getting dirty and making that happen. And then if you didn't find him there, head down to Rotary Gardens and see the Grumpies. They're putting plants in and making that all happen. He knew how to get dirty. And then a little known fact about Javon is that he used to be an elk farmer, okay? Take that, elk, okay? You probably didn't know that one, so there's a piece of info you just learned today. So yes, there's a little farmer in that guy too, and he knows how to get dirty in order to get the job done. So when nature or other elements throw you a curve, you gotta find a way to get it done. Both Javon and Rollie know how to do whatever it takes to get the job done. That includes jumping in, getting dirty, and personally making it happen. I have an incredible amount of respect and admiration for both of these amazing individuals. They have taught me a lot in just watching them work through the processes they have. I've been extremely fortunate to have watched them in action and seen the results of their talents, their gifts, and insights that they've shared with everyone they've come in contact with. And so without further ado, I do want to invite Javon to the stage for his comments.
Well, thank you, Larry. That was really wonderful. You really did a great job. In fact, I've never quite seen you perform quite that well. I'll let you know. That was very, very well done. And I also want to thank Barb and her crew for the wonderful video. I really think that that was extremely well done. Thank you guys, both of you. Well, lifetime achievement and contributions to scouting, wow. You know, I'm truly humbled as I know Rollie is, and I can tell you that I feel very privileged to be able to be recognized alongside Rollie. I really didn't think that this would ever occur, but it's a real special to me to be able to be recognized with him because you don't go from just a little over 400 partner staff to almost 8,500 partners and just a little over 80,000 patient visits to over 2 million patient visits, and from 33 million in gross revenue to over 3 billion in gross revenue, and from one standalone facility to 75 facilities, 39 communities. It just doesn't happen, automatically. And so you can imagine that Rollie and I, through the last 30 years, have really had some interesting encounters. But the one thing, and I want to say this, before I get into my official comments, that I've always said about Rollie is he's a rock. He was my rock at Gibraltar. You know, in some ways, a president and CEO can ultimately only be as effective as their board allows them to be. And I'm not going to say that we haven't had board members who've had knocked knees and been afraid of some of the things we're going to do, or sometimes the pushback from people competitors and others, and they wanted to run for the hills. But it was always Rollie who stood strong and basically made sure that the board did not way off the path. And so that allowed me to really execute the vision that the board and I created. And so I just really want to publicly thank Rollie for his tremendous being that rock of Gibraltar, because you got to have that. Thanks, Rollie. As you can see, we have a long history. We've had a common vision together. Our overall fundamental purpose, frankly, has been to improve the health and well-being of the communities that we serve, and to really bring excellent, exceptional healthcare services, and really do it with a passion, and instill that passion in all of our staff. And to do that throughout, our first vision was really in the Janesville area, and then it went so well, and our patients were so grateful, we expanded it through southern Wisconsin, and really now all of northern Illinois. So it's, I think when you're caring for people with a passion, that it tends to grow, and people just receive that with open arms, because there's a lot of, one of the things unfortunately that happens in healthcare is that the average tenure of a CEO in a hospital or health system is just under 4 years, if you contact the American Hospital Association. So you can imagine if the captain of the everyday ship is turning over on average just under 4 years, that part of the team usually turns over, and that lack of continuity, that constant changing of visions, is what really caused so many health systems and hospitals to struggle today. Mercy, and has been in the past, Mercy is really truly recognized nationally as being one of the most successful health systems in the United States for many reasons. Of course, it was recognized in the Oval Office by the President. But I have to say that continuity is key to it. Continuity in our board's leadership with Rollie, continuity in our senior administration. My staff have been with me from, the full 30 years, most of them. And if somebody's been around 10 years, I consider them still kind of getting their feet wet, So it's that longevity and that continuity that really leads to success. But scouting, and Larry did a wonderful job, and so did Alex, in talking about the values in the video, the values that I think it goes back to from scouting, because it really all started for me with scouting. And frankly, when I came to Mercy, Rollie encouraged me. I was busy, but he knew how much I loved scouting, to get involved with the Mississippi Council. But for me, it started at age 8. I was one of 12 children. I have 5 brothers and 6 sisters, and I was in the troop in St. Patrick's Church, St. Patrick's School in Rockford, Illinois, on the west side. And I couldn't wait to become a Boy Scout, to get old enough. I'd seen my next older brother, who was in scouting, earning merit badges and all the fun he was having. And even then, you might say I was kind of driven, and I wanted to be able to start earning my own merit badges. My parents were hard workers, but money was hard to come by with 12 children. My father was a printer at the Rockford newspapers and never made over $12,000 a year in his life. And my mom cared for me and my 5 brothers and 6 sisters. We lived in a small 3-bedroom home with 1 bathroom, if you can believe it. My father took the lock off the bathroom door so that nobody could take more than their couple of minutes share. And it was in high demand. And my brothers and I shared 1 bedroom on sets of bunk beds. And frankly, when I look back, it was kind of like growing up in an army barracks. My upbringing as a child, but in my scouting experiences, really taught me 2 things. Really, it was scouting was key, and that was, it taught me persistence and perseverance, and how to, on a daily basis, suit up, show up, and do the next right thing. And I think that's been it for me: consistency and daily getting up, showing up wherever you're supposed to be, being appropriately dressed, and then doing the next right thing. And we're all going to have bumps, we're all going to have setbacks, but it's the long haul that counts. And that's what I tried to instill in my children and grandchildren as well. It's the long haul that counts. We're always going to have setbacks, but you just keep going forward. And I frankly learned that from scouting. And I was thinking back, getting ready for this event, when you take a hike as an 8 or 9-year-old, a 20-mile hike, I don't know if they do that anymore, in the hot sun, that teaches you not to give up. It really teaches you that persistence. And I can still remember when you're a little kid and I was short, taking a 20-mile hike in the hot sun. It certainly taught me how not to give up, and it taught me to just keep going. And it's the long haul that counts, and you eventually arrive. So scouting really did give me a blueprint for a successful life and a meaningful life. They taught me many skills, taught me how to survive in the wilderness, cooking, although my wife would say I still have a long way to go in that front. And as I say, that stick-to-itiveness. I still remember one winter. It was 1962. It was January, and we went out. I don't know if it's done like this anymore, but I guess we were going to go out and learn winter camping skills. And in those days, we didn't have lodges or anything. We had tents. And it turned really cold, 20 below zero, and windy. And so imagine spending a weekend in the snow in a tent, 20 below zero. And I was 10 years old, 1962. And, we didn't think we were going to survive the weekend, but frankly, we did, and we felt invincible after that. We felt like we could do anything when you achieve something like that. So I think scouting for me was always, at least our particular troop masters, was kind of like always trying to push us to the limits. And then we learned to reach inside ourselves and learn that we could do more than what we thought. I spent my first 5 years as a Boy Scout, as I said, in grade school and junior high at St. Patrick's. Then I went to a year of boarding school as a minor seminary where scouting wasn't available. And then I came back and spent my latter years at Auburn High School in Rockford, and I immediately joined a medical explorer's post when I was in high school. And it was really there that I became interested in healthcare. And even though I had to work hard, being part of a big family, at age 8, I had my first paper out. By age 12, I had 3 paper outs and hired 2 kids to help me deliver the routes, and I collected the money for all 3 routes, and I had a lawn mowing and snow shoveling business. It was all to be able to buy my clothes and to really pay for my camping trips. We used to pay at that time for our camping trips, and we probably didn't have as good a fundraising activity as we had later. So that's how I earned my money. And but the Boy Scout Explorers really gave me my first opportunity at a real job. And being in the medical explorers post in Rockford, it was a doctor at Rockford Memorial who headed up our medical explorers post. And he first helped me get a job in the housekeeping department, mopping floors at Rockford Memorial in radiology and ED. And then I told him I became interested in clinical care, so he helped me get a job as a physical therapy aide in the physical therapy department at Rockford Memorial. I eventually went on to become a physical therapist, getting my degree in physical therapy from Mayo Clinic, and then my master's in healthcare administration from the University of Minnesota. So you can see that being a Boy Scout and being a medical explorer was very influential in my life and even in my career. But I just want to show you a few things to just show you how much that it meant to me. These things are 58 years old. Now, can you imagine keeping something around for 58 years? But I told my wife, make sure, because she likes to clean house a lot. She likes to throw stuff out. She doesn't like to accumulate. And I said, these things are sacrosanct. You don't ever think of throwing these out. So this is my my backpack that I used to use, Boy Scouts of America. On my 20-mile hikes and when I went camping, if you guys can see this. And then I had a canteen that I used on those hikes and camping. This was actually my brother's Army canteen. This is back from the Korean War days, but I use that on all those hikes. But this is what I'm most proud of, and it's still my vest that I've got all my various patches and awards, and you can see I have a sash with my merit badges. Zach isn't probably still here, but the kid, I think he outdid me. He had a lot of merit badges. But you know, on here it's the Order of the Arrow, and we got the, in fact, I've got a patch here going back to Black Hawk Council in 1959, an October District Jamboree from 1959, the 12th Annual U.S. Grant Pilgrimage in 1962 in Galena, Illinois. There's a really Black Hawk Area Council, Follow the Rugged Road. There's really a lot of neat memories on this. So I told Vita, I said, I worked hard for this stuff. Don't ever think of throwing this out. And we're talking almost 6 decades ago. So that shows you just how much it really meant to me, because scouting really taught me how to take on responsibility and build character through service and action. And it not only helped me build confidence, but it really taught me how to focus on service to others. And there's no question that had an influence of why I went into healthcare. Not only service to the individuals, but also about achieving for the common good. And that's kind of what I have always felt about improving healthcare for southern Wisconsin and northern Illinois, to really have people have a better chance at getting top quality, exceptional healthcare, which really saves lives. I also learned very much as a scout, and when I was joined Mercy, I was so impressed with my scouting career and what Medical Explorers had done for me. When Rollie hired me in 1989 to be the president and CEO of Mercy Hospital in Janesville, I started a Medical Explorers post that's still running today. And as the video said, we really have helped many, many hundreds of kids get into the healthcare field through that Medical Explorers post. But I also jumped on the opportunity to be on the Mississippi Council. Andrew was still involved in those days. It's now the Glacier's Edge Council. And I'm sure many of you may remember, I know Andrew does, because we were talking about the old Scoutorama fundraising events, but we used to have a Scoutorama fundraising events. Do you remember any of those, Larry? Yeah. And when I was on the board, I offered to chair the Scoutorama one year, and the committee came up with a brilliant idea that they thought would raise a lot of money. And it was simple. When people came to the Scoutorama for various fun games and activities, if they donated money, they could see the CEO of Mercy kiss a pig on the lips. This is a true story. And so, and I can tell you that I never anticipated all the people that were going to stand in line to donate money to see me kiss a pig. And frankly, by the end of the day, I can tell you that pig and I got real close. And we really did. And so close that I ended up naming her. I called her Babe the pig. Babe the pig. And Andrew, I don't know if that pig is, do you know whatever happened to that pig? Probably, you don't know what happened to that pig. But anyway, I went home. In fact, my wife and I were talking about this just the other night. I went home and told my wife about this, and I couldn't tell the look in Vita's face. At first, I thought, when I told her how much I was making out with that pig that day, I thought that she was kind of jealous. And then when I heard her scream to tell me to go in and scrub my mouth out with Listerine, and several times that she'd never kiss me again, I realized that it was disgust and not jealousy. But anyway, scouting has always been a tremendous adventure for me and a lot of fun, and I've really enjoyed it, and that's why I was so happy to participate in this event. And it's taught me to lead with grace and humility and to operate with integrity, and to really be of service to others and to help leave a legacy bigger than oneself. So I want to thank you all very much for coming today. I want to thank my family and friends that have come. I also want to thank my Mercy partners who are here. The Mercy partners really, what you do for our organization, for our patients and the communities we serve, I can just say that, to me, when I think of Winston Churchill's phrase that it's really, we make a living through what we get, but we make a life through what we give. I happen to know that our Mercy partners give a lot more than they ever think of receiving, and that's why Mercy is what it is today, and all the healing and lives and families that's been affected through the years, millions. And I just am extremely grateful, and I want you to know to my Mercy partners that you're a true family to me. So thank you very much. I'm extremely thankful to the Boy Scouts for the foundation that it's given me to learn to build and to serve others and to teach me how to do my part to make the world a better place. So again, I want to thank you for this honor, and I want to thank Andrew, and I want to thank Alex and Larry for putting this together. And I know I can speak for Rollie, I speak for him often, is that it's something Rollie and I will never forget. Thank you very much.
You know, I've been with Mercy for 23 years, and every time Mr. Bay speaks, I learn something new. And now I realize that there's a reason why we hike before we go into executive council. We have a trip planned for next year to Iceland for camping. And he always asks me how the pigs are looking at Walworth County Fair every year that I'm there. So, makes sense. Rollie, I'd like to introduce you to the crowd. Come on up. No, I skipped in line.
You know, getting old isn't for sissies. From the neck up, I'm still in pretty good shape. From the neck down, why things aren't working as well as they did a while back. It's probably kind of strange why somebody would hang around for almost 50 years on the board of an organization. I do it for, there are a couple of reasons why I do it. One of them is for the humanity of it, but the other is selfish. I have a hell of a lot of fun. When I hired Javon, sorry, Joanna. When I hired Javon, I was cautioned that this is a really outstanding young man, but you're going to have a tiger by the tail. And I did. But you know, it's a lot more fun to pull on a rope than it is to try to push it. And that's what I thought. We had another candidate that was closely as well qualified, but of a different nature. And he thought that this is somebody you're probably going to have to keep jabbing all the time to keep moving. I've never had to jab Javon. He has made my life exciting and fun, and just been a pleasure to be working with him. I always thought to myself, if I had a son, this is what I do have a son, and he's a pretty good kid, but Javon is the son that anybody would like to have. Why volunteerism? And I'm going to talk more about that than I am about scouting. I'm a deep believer in scouting. I served as president of the Mississippi Council for a couple of periods, almost right up to the time that we joined the Glacier's Edge. And then I got busy doing other things. But there flows into the human nature a responsibility that we have a responsibility to take care of each other. And that's the main reason for volunteerism. The Bureau of Labor Statistics did a recent study. They recently released the volunteer rates in the United States is showing a decline to 25.4%. And that includes all the people in this country that work devote no more than an hour each year to volunteerism. This rate is really unfortunately low. And there are a number of reasons why you should volunteer. They say that volunteering is good for your health. It's been suggested that in later life that people that our active volunteers are healthier and they live longer. Older people who volunteer remain physically functional much longer and have more robust psychological well-being and live longer. But the kicker to this is those older people that are volunteering actively started when they were younger. You don't just retire from your job and become a volunteer and get all the benefits of it. You've got to establish yourself as a volunteer with an organization and do that during your active business years so that you've got something to jump into when you retire. I still have a copy of the letter from Sister Michael. Those of you younger people, Sister Michael was the administrator of Mercy Health. She was a Sisters of Mercy nun. And a bunch of her associates were also active at Mercy Hospital in those days. And the letter is dated June the 8th, 1971. And I've been active with that ever since. She was a wonderful person. I always told her, I said, you'd have been a successful business person in any life that you might have chosen. And she could have. But she was in her 80s, though, in those days. So she didn't mind hanging around either for a while. She was, and even at that age, she was actively running Mercy Hospital. The only thing that she didn't like to deal with firing people or interviewing them, doctors especially. And we occasionally, in the best run organizations, you do have some physicians who, you know, they're just short of God anyway in their own minds. Why, it's hard to it's hard to deal with them. And so she would sometimes ask me, Rollie, would you mind talking to Dr. So-and-so? We're having some troubles with him, and we really think he shouldn't stay in the organization. And so Rollie would dutifully pack up himself and hie on over to the hospital and sit down with Dr. So-and-so, and we would discuss his shortcomings. But the point of this all being that you really should get involved in volunteering while you are young and active, so that you can establish yourself with whatever that organization is. It tends to establish strong relationships. There's an AARP study that shows a prevalence of loneliness at a time high. It's at an all-time high. 1 in 3 adults age 45 or older are categorized as lonely. Now you say, well, how can you be lonely? I've got all these friends. Well, online, social media, online activities, they're great for keeping in touch, but with people you already know. You don't establish new relationships with people online. The way you establish a relationship with somebody is working with them on a volunteer activity where they get to know you and you get to know them. It's also good for your career. I started out I was working for the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta. And my supervisor gave me an opportunity to volunteer for a project that he was deeply involved in out in the suburbs, which happened to be in the area where I lived. And in that, I had been a little bit concerned about the opportunities in the Federal Reserve System for a guy with just a bachelor's degree. And I told him about that. He said, well, why don't you come over? He says, my father used to be president of this bank in Atlanta. In those days, it was called the Trust Company of Georgia. It's now known as Sun Trust. And in that part of the country, why, it's still a factor. And so I went over and visited with him. And he said, Bob tells me that you're a pretty decent guy. He said, why don't you have your transcript sent to me, and we'll talk some other time. So I did that, and I don't know, in a week or so, I had a call from his secretary, said that Mr. So-and-so would like to have lunch with you tomorrow. Can you do that? Of course. So I went over and visited with him, and then he hired me over there at the Trust Company of Georgia, which was a commercial bank, and my road out into commercial banking was the saving grace for me, because without a PhD in economics, I was going nowhere in the central banking system. So those types of things can pay off. Also, volunteering is good for society. We all know that any mission-driven organization depends a lot on volunteers. The one I'm most familiar with now is Rotary Gardens. Not strictly a mission-based organization, but nonetheless, probably 70 to 80% of the work that gets done in gardening is by volunteers. And you can go down there anytime from probably the 1st of May through the end of October, and there'll be volunteers out there in the garden that are working. And then going back to the selfish reason that I've been involved with Mercy so long, it just makes you feel good. It gives you a sense of purpose. And when you spend a lot of time in close relationship with other volunteers in any organization, why, you know that you're doing something for the public good, for the benefit of all, and that's probably my final reason of why you should volunteer. Mercy has been just it's probably been I've been there so long, it's like a home to me, and the people, the vice presidents, the executive group of that organization, I've come to know them so well. They're just like family, and I'm just so proud of what they do. Javon has really put together a group of outstanding people that run that organization. And when it really came home to me was when we merged Rockford Memorial Group into our organization. Those people knew exactly how Javon meant that a hospital should be run, and they bought in to his approach to running a hospital, and they immediately got those people down there. They didn't all buy into it. It wasn't just as smooth as grease, but they ultimately got them to agree that what we were doing wasn't all that bad. And so thanks to that group. And in closing, just let me say this. 3 out of 4 people probably in this room, maybe not in this room because you wouldn't be here if you weren't. But 3 out of 4 people are volunteering, and so I say, go out and volunteer and live a longer, healthier life. Thank you.
I'm Mark Lorenz. I was introduced earlier, but I'm privileged to be able to make a very special presentation this morning, and I'd also ask if Javon would join us on the stage. And then would Gary Gandy, would you stand up so that we can introduce you? We're fortunate to have commissioned renowned local wildlife and portrait artist Gary Gandy, who is also a longtime friend of Scouting, so we appreciate that. Gary has created 2 special paintings, one for each of you this morning, and we'd like to be able to present those. Would the Scouts please bring in the first painting that was commissioned for Javon Bay. Gary's inspiration for this painting comes from his early love of Boys Life magazine. As a young scout, Gary looked forward to receiving monthly issues of the Grand Scouting publication. On the cover of each issue were some of the greatest illustrations ever published. Gary's tribute to the publication includes the tableau-style composition of the part present, part future, the dramatic background, and the detailed official Scout uniforms. The importance of these images to impressionable youth everywhere was and is unmistakable. The rest of Gary's inspiration comes from various people who have played an important role or are currently playing a role in the past, present, and future of Scouting. Gary started with the immense contribution that Sacagawea, a Native American of the Shoshone tribe, bestowed upon the famous Lewis and Clark expedition. Her intelligence and courage guided the early American expedition through 828,000 square miles of almost completely unexplored territory. Today, we are the beneficiaries of her courage and bravery. Also depicted in the painting is Lieutenant General Robert Baden-Powell holding a telescope as a symbol of exploration, and the book he authored, Scouting for Boys. His manual began the Scouting movement and gave boys and young men inspiration to explore, learn survival skills, and develop themselves to be loyal, hardworking, and upstanding citizens. The boy in the painting is modeled after a local Boy Scout. Holding an American flag, he honors his country and represents the millions of boys whose character was shaped through Scouting. The young girl represents the first female Cub Scout and celebrates the many opportunities now available to girls through Scouting. Together, this group represents character, courage, and purpose, and so continues Legend of the Scout. And now let's reveal the second painting, which was commissioned for Rollie McClellan, entitled Exploring the Future. Again, Gary used Boys Life magazine as his inspiration and included Sacagawea and Robert Baden-Powell for their exploration and contributions to this great country. This painting also includes a man who is modeled after our very own Andrew Olson as the district director for this area. Andrew has dedicated his life to Scouting, and in this painting he represents the hundreds of thousands of leaders whose love of children and Scouting has made an impact on the lives of so many. And at his feet is a beloved dog who represents man's best friend, always loyal and ready for adventure. Again, the boy in the painting is modeled after a local Boy Scout. The young girl, who has the face of Gary's granddaughter, represents the first female Cub Scout. The adults in the painting were exploring the future in their time, and the children are exploring the future in theirs. Together, this group represents character and courage and purpose and the high ideals of the Boy Scouts of America. With that, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Gary. Those are beautiful. Very well done. Thank you.
All right, thank you, everybody. We want to thank everybody for coming this morning. There is a Glique copy of each of the paintings. There are limited edition prints on canvas signed and numbered by the artist, and only a limited number have been printed. If you are interested in purchasing a print, all proceeds go to the local Boy Scouts Council. There is a sign up at the reception desk as you leave. Without your generosity, Scouts in South Central Wisconsin and Northern Illinois would not have the opportunity to experience the fun, adventure, and learning of the values of Scouts. Do we have a total number for the amount? Thank you. Wow. Okay, through your generous contributions, we have raised just this morning for the Scouts over $20,000 here just today. So. Thank you again for everybody for coming. We certainly appreciate it. And again, Mr. McClellan and Mr. Bay, it's an honor to have you here and all of you've done for Scouts. And we will end our celebration today with Augusta, Sam, and Henry, who will now come back up to the stage to retire the flags. Thank you again for coming.
Color guard advance. Color guard, please retire the colors. Scout salute.